Ashiq, welcome to Salab Grind, Dhaka, Bangladesh.
Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure, Ashiq. Ashiq, first of all, আমরা শুনেছি, we have heard a lot about you, that you're a young entrepreneur who has started Hive, this particular venture we're sitting at the moment. So we'd like to start first, who is Ashiq? Ashiq কে? এবং আশিকের গল্পটা কি? What's your story?
All right. Greetings, everyone. So my name is Ashiq. I'm one of the partners of Hive. Well, the story has to date back to my school days. I guess that's what's most important. I'm born and significantly brought up here in Dhaka, Bangladesh. So I have all my ties here. So I went to school majorly in Mastermind. I was for a bit in Darjeeling in St. Paul's School, in a boarding school. I did end up doing my O-levels and A-levels in private. I did go to IUB for my undergrad. I did my BBA majoring in finance. After that, I went forward, went to the US. Right after my undergrad, I pursued my CFA, my Chartered Financial Analyst, and along with that, I started working. I've been mostly working in the financial sector, focusing mostly on investment banking. I started working on a private equity, where I looked into funding and financing. Over time, I moved into venture capitalists, where I've worked with tons of startups, early stage in different series, majorly focusing on technology. Thus, I was based in Silicon Valley, San Francisco for the last 5 years. Over time, I moved into an acquisition company, where a software company which basically focused on growing through acquisitions of other tech companies. So I focused on mergers and acquisitions for a good amount of my life there. So after half a decade of investment banking and financial institutional work, decided that I would quit and do something, though I still love that. I have utmost passion for finance and investment banking. I mean, I would do it any day blindly, but I just wanted to do something on my own. I just wanted to make a difference to myself and to others too. So late last year, me and a couple of my co-founders, we started a financial technology firm, where we're doing a small pilot project with the New York Stock Exchange. It's California based. That gave me quite the liberty to work remotely, and I thought of coming back to Dhaka and assess the scenario, as well as build my backend and other teams for my fintech here. And when I come here, I had an opportunity to talk with various individuals, starting with Choropai and other people who's deeply involved in the ecosystem, and we wanted to find out how we can contribute, how I can be one of the players in this growing ecosystem and contribute to whatever baggage of experiences I hold. And then we thought that, given that we have a bunch of really talented individuals, freelancers, startups, and other people with great ideas, but they would be requiring a good place to work from, a good network, people to help them guide so that they can scale and grow. So that all basically aggregated to form what Hive is today. Tomorrow it's going to be 4 months for Hive. We're happy that in this 1/3 of the year that we've been in operations, we're getting good response. We're getting to meet wonderful individuals. We're looking at good networking, and we have certain different visions and strategies for Hive going forward. Let's see how things go.
All right. So good to know, Ashiq, that you also did your O-levels and A-levels in private, right?
Right.
So let me start from the back, okay? So why not from under the schools? Why not private canon?
I shifted to a lot of schools. In my school days, I've been to a lot of schools, and naming them would be a big list, but Mastermind was the core, so I always name it. And so was St. Paul's, which was a very great learning experience for me, going into boarding school. But at the end of the day, I did my O-levels and A-levels a year earlier than my batch,
okay.
So which basically resulted in going for
So
private.
how many A's did you get in your O-levels?
8.
8.
And 2 distinctions.
Okay, let me repeat. 8
Right.
A's. Out of how many subjects you have?
I sat for 8.
All A's, right?
Right.
Okay, so all A's. All right, so this is usually the investment bankers sounds like. All right, so A-levels কি ছিল?
I had 3 subjects. I did end up with 3 A's. I had just.
Oh my God, no way. So you got 3 A's in A-levels too?
Yeah. Not to boast on, I had a world highest mark.
So এর মানে হচ্ছে bottom line is you have got 8 A's in O-levels, 3 A's in A-levels. Right? And may we know like what the subjects that you appeared in A-levels?
I had business, accounting, and mathematics. So I was always into business, finance oriented.
So you were determined from when you were like 12th grade that where you will be heading to?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, awesome. And then you actually went to which university?
I went to IUB.
IUB?
Right.
All right. And you graduated with a CGPA of?
North of 3.678.
Thank God.
I mean,
it wasn't 4. All right. So eventually you went for a master's.
I went to the US to work, but I did pursue my CFA, my Chartered Financial Analyst, while working.
All right. So great. So when did you decide that you actually would be? Because usually what happens, and when somebody is having a great job in States or somewhere else abroad, they usually don't think about coming back to Bangladesh. Why did you think to come back to Bangladesh?
I always did have a deep passion for Bangladesh, and I did want to do something here. Not that I am to put everything on the table, and to be very honest, not that I want to do something very social with a very non-profit motive. No, but I did want to do something which would harness employment, which would contribute to the economy, and over turn, obviously, this has to be profit making or something which I would be able to capitalize and monetize on. So this was always there. Given that I've quit my job and started my own farm late last year, which was the first trigger that it gave me the liberty to work remotely. And that's one of the first things which led me come to Dhaka all the way.
Awesome. And why Hive?
All right. So why Hive? As I gave a small preview of why Hive, we thought there were co-working space is a big industry out there. To put in numbers,
out there is in which country you're meaning, like in the
in the entire world. And to put numbers, co-working space do get funding. They ended up in more than $1 billion funding just last year.
Do you want to help us explain what is co-working space as a business?
Awesome, right. So we've all been acquainted with the sharing economy, with the peer-to-peer economy that there's going on. So a co-working space is basically, in very layman terms, is a platform which allows people to work from without the hurdles of thinking about investments in fixtures, fittings, let it be AC, security deposit, advance, and all of the things which becomes the capital liquidity. And the cash crisis is the primarily bigger factor when it comes to startups in the early stage. So what happens is you just walk into a co-working space, you pay a bare minimum fee, and you get every other facilities that you need under the roof for doing your office. And along with that, you get to be with a good amount of like-minded people, which not only improves your productivity and efficiency, but also helps you learn more.
So, which means that the intention of Hive is actually, it's a business, first of all, that you founded. At the same time, it is something that you are actually also helping others to grow, which is the startups?
Absolutely. We do want to have a platform which would help the startups or the newer, younger entrepreneurs to grow.
Right.
That is definitely the primary perspective and the primary intention of doing Hive. And then again, but it is a business. We do have more visions around it. We would unveil it over time. I just don't want to give it all away. But yes, we want to do something more around it. But the primary and the initial idea is to be part of this growing ecosystem.
So what do you mean by, first of all, let me ask you another question, like why Dhanmondi?
Right.
Why this location?
Right, that's a very important question. So why this location was because when we were at the process of researching about co-working spaces, and we wanted to find out what co-working spaces are there in Dhaka. We had the good privilege of visiting more. It's a co-working space in Dhanmondi and also in Bonani. My bad. In Bonani, we went to Hub Dhaka, which is a co-working space in Mirpur. We had the again good privilege of talking to all of their founders, and it's great that we share the same vision. And Then while researching the market, we figured out that Dhanmondi is a very strategic location where such individuals and target market which we're looking for do exist, but there isn't a space to cater to their needs, and thus Dhanmondi became the choice.
So when you say like you all share the same vision, which means the more Hive and Dhaka, they all are actually sharing the vision of growing the ecosystem of startups in Bangladesh?
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so before I move on to the question of to know a little bit more about startups from your end, the basic questions like Hive. So we can see this is a very good-looking, wonderful co-working space. So may we know how did you actually first raise the fund to set up this business?
Okay, so we bootstrapped Hive. When we say we, Hive is the result of 4 of us. It's me and 3 of my other friends, now partners. We've completely bootstrapped Hive. Our sources of funding is ourselves. Not external, not family, no nothing.
No father?
No father, absolutely not.
Alright, so you raised the fund by yourself?
Absolutely, we bootstrapped it. We've worked not significant, but we've worked half a decade, all 4 of us. We do have our own bunch of savings, we do have our own bunch of income, and we bootstrapped it ourselves.
Alright, awesome. So basically, it's your own funding, and your own, everything is started from the scratch.
Absolutely.
There is no VC involved here.
Not at all.
Alright, so, okay, so which means this is a small venture that you have raised by yourself, funded by yourself, and what is still your plan for the ROI, the return on investment?
We do understand, and we did know that before when we started, that a co-working space is not really a profit-making business model as of now. We definitely understood that, but yet we went forward because, as I said, we do have different visions with the co-working space. Hive would be a platform. It can moreover turn into an incubator, maybe over time an accelerator, maybe as of now we do have our own in-house development team, in-house marketer teams. We're developing our own proprietary technology. So there's a bunch of things that would be going on, but primarily we started as a co-working space because that helps us learn the market, at the same time helps us cater to this growing need. But when it comes to direct ROI for Hive as a business, and you do a very simple calculation of your investments and the return that you're getting, no, it's a tricky profit-making business model, or the business model is different than a very traditional or a simple ROI method.
Because co-working space itself is a very new concept for Bangladesh. So as you just said, in entire Dhaka city, we've got only 3 co-working spaces, including yourself, right? 3 or 4.
Right. I know of the other 2 very well. There might be some others too that I'm not really acquainted to as of now. But if there are, that would be great because we're looking forward to more.
Alright, so knowing that this is a very tricky way of earning money, still you have invested for this particular venture known as co-working space, through which your prime intention is not to probably have the ROI probably on time, but as you said, you've got a vision to help develop the industry, the ecosystem, and through which you probably will be having other ways to probably get the return on an investment, right?
Absolutely.
So in that process, which means you're mostly investing on the startups.
One of the ways we look into it, not that, so when you say, given that I come from a financial industry, when you say investing in startups, there would be equity involved. There absolutely is no equity involved. And it's not that startups are coming here and working for free. Not only that, they're also paying a fee, which we've termed to be affordable for them.
All right, okay.
But what we are investing in is value creation. Value creation through the platform. It can be for the startups, it can be for ourselves. As we said, we're developing our own proprietary technology for ourselves too, and much more others.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense because to us, in fact, what we know, even to the audience, I know that the startup term is a very new thing. The startup is a new term that we are hearing for the last couple of years in Bangladesh. And since you say that this is a venture that you actually have built with your own struggle, hard-earned money, mainly capitalizing say again on the startups? Because these are your main products, customers, right?
Right.
So what is your take on the startups scenario of Bangladesh?
Okay, let's just focus on what is a startup. I mean, there are, I'm sure we'll have difference in opinions. It's not a very Oxford Dictionary fixated definition. For me, startup is a young company. A company which is trying to solve a problem where the solution is not been proven, where there is no guarantee of success. But most importantly, a startup needs to grow. A startup is a company that can grow, that can scale very fast. That is the primary difference in startup and a small business. I can have a very small shop. I wouldn't be calling it a startup because it wouldn't be able to grow and scale in different multiples as would a startup. So that is where what a startup comes into play. It's young. It doesn't really have to be fresh off the boat, not that you've just started. It doesn't really have to have huge tons of revenue or no revenue at all. But it's about growth. Now the growth can be on the user base, the growth can be on revenue for SaaS and other B2B businesses, but it has to be growth.
Can you help us name one of the startups that you think actually can be a role model for Bangladesh?
Again, I am very naive to the local market. It hasn't really been 10 months that I've been involved in the local industry, where more than half the time I wasn't here in Dhaka. But I do see some bigger picture in many of the startups that I see has been working. I do see Chaldal, which has been growing in terms of their market share, growing in terms of user acquisitions. I don't know if that's satisfied and justifiable for them, Chaldal's management team, but I do see them growing. I'm sure there are a bunch of others too, which has been growing at a good rate, at a good scale.
Yes, I'm sure. Yeah. So Ashiq, going back, the company that you're mentioning that you already founded in States,
right.
Can you tell a little bit about that company?
It's a financial technology firm. We focus and specialize in stock market price predictions and approximations, majorly for the technology sector in NASDAQ index and the New York Stock Exchange. We've recently partnered up with Bloomberg. They are our data partner where we're getting most of our data, and we're doing a small pilot project with the New York Stock Exchange. This would take time to come more into reality or go to market, but then again our market is very institutional investors and bigger investors. It's not a very public algorithm or a fintech.
So why didn't you thought of testing similar great concept, fintech concepts for Bangladesh market?
For Bangladesh market, I don't think the stock exchange or the stock market very much aligns with the forces of demand and supply or other financial valuations that go through. So I wouldn't be wanting to test it out now in this market. Maybe over time when the market gets better and we have more educated players in the market and there aren't much artificial price hikes. And
so you mean we have a deficiency of education in the market at the moment for fintech?
I don't know about fintech, but I was majorly focusing on the local stock market. Maybe I'm pretty much sure if we do a very random sampling and do a small survey of and if you ask people that what really led them to purchase this particular stock, I'm sure majority would be impulse. Majority would be because they thought it to be good, or maybe the person next to them bought it, or maybe they've heard news that this would go up. But I haven't really seen people doing a due diligence in financial evaluations and other material public news that there is.
So say for example, if you plan to launch a startup fintech for Bangladesh market, what would be the first product that you would be launching for Bangladesh?
I think I would look into a more simple brokerage application where people would just get to buy and sell stock in the mobile phone and not really worry about other things. Along with that, I would want to have certain amount of researches and data, because I'm a very data person. I want to know particular analytics and assessment in order to make much decisions. So maybe I would want to focus on that, or maybe an online trading platform, but backed up by analytics and data.
And do you think, as you say, there's a little bit of deficiency of education in the market, do you think that at the moment Bangladesh, for the fintech, from the consumer perspective, are we ready for it?
We know that there are online trading platforms that's been developed and coming to the market. I guess Lanka Bangla is doing one of them, and a bunch of others. So I think we're ready for, there's nothing to be ready for an online trading platform. It's just people to come digitally on board and do the trading, which they're just doing on a physically.
Are we digital now, you think?
And when you say are we, I would rather have a more definite definitions in order to give a more proper answer. So when you say we, yes, a bunch of population is digitally on board, but we have to understand that when you're looking at Bangladesh as a scenario, I'm sure not even 60% is digitally on board. If we're looking at Dhaka and a particular segment, yes, absolutely, people are digitally on board.
So you mean that still the market needs to grow a little bit more?
Absolutely, we are a very emerging market. We are one of the emerging markets in the future. We've been growing. We would be getting digitally on board. One of the many reasons, some of the many major reasons are data is getting very cheap. Smartphones are very cheap. So when we see certain economic factors that these are affordable towards many classes of people, that means they are going to avail it. And when they're availing it, they're all getting digitally on board. I mean, you would have a better statistics to know that how many people do use Facebook, how many smartphone users are there. So you see, people are going there. We cannot be compared to first world countries. We are a very new country, but we have great growth. It's an emerging market. I have no doubt that there is lots of potential, and there's also space for lots of market, because this is a highly populated market. And when there's greater population, means every population or every person in the population would be needing any of this or some of the services. So it's a great market to be in.
Correct. So Ashiq, since you have launched Hive and you're working very closely with the startups, I believe, and you've also mentioned to me earlier that you really try to incentivize the startups while they're here. So if you tell us, how do you do that?
One of the first thing that we try to do is, also many of my partners, we're very open to talk to let it be startups or individuals that there is. We're very open to talk and share our limited knowledge and our limited baggage of experiences that we've gained to help them in anyhow. Maybe our help is might not really add much value to them. Maybe it's unnecessary, but we do make it a point to talk to them and make ourselves available, if not always, but whenever it is, so that we can help them grow. It can be as simple as telling them to make a proper business plan, or telling them to know their finances better, or telling them that this is how they can technically grow better. It can be a very small set of conversations, but we're trying to be there. We're taking one step at a time.
I remember you were also mentioning that you also designed some packages for the startups, like free timings.
We did it. When we started initially, we did give out startups to work for free. We had a bunch of applications. We did interview them. We gave out 2 startups to work for free from Hive for a good chunk of time. One of them couldn't continue because I think their startup ran out of cash, despite they were not really paying me anything, but they ran out of cash, or maybe there were differences in the founders. One of them is still continuing. We would be doing it more as we go forward. As again I say, we're taking one step at a time. It would be free workspaces. Over time, it would be us working with them very closely in order to help them scale and grow. And maybe over time, if we get the proper processes on board, it might lead to funding and many other things. So co-working space, maybe over time an incubator, and over time an accelerator.
That is basically where you want to be, right?
Over time, yes.
So Ashiq, you said that you're already 8 months old, or?
We're 4 months old.
4 months.
Tomorrow we're going to be 4 months.
4 months old. All right, congratulations on that.
Yeah.
So basically, from the day one till today, what is the growth rate that you can see for yourself?
Our growth rate varies though. I wouldn't say on a month to month, we do experiences, I mean, given that in an initial month the rate is higher because the original number is very small. So on a month to month basis, we've grown on an average of 30%-ish in the last 4 months, which for me is not really a bad figure, given market scenarios and given other things. I think it is not really heartbreaking, not that it's super impressive, but we're very content with the result.
Awesome. So do you think More or Hub Dhaka, the two others that we have in Dhaka city, do you perceive them as a competitor or?
Absolutely not. I don't really look at them as competition. For me, competition has certain set of definitions. First of all, they don't really fall into it. I operate in a particularly different region, area, and a particularly different market. One of the reasons people come to co-working space because it's near to their place so that they don't have to travel and traffic. We are situated in 3 corners of the city. We are not really competition because I'm very open to mention them, talk to them, so are they, which is the beauty of it. It is great that they were in the market before because they have done a preliminary they've started the preliminary process of educating the crowd of co-working spaces, given that Hub Dhaka came a good amount of years back, at least 2 or more than 2 years. Right. More has been in operations north of a year or 1.5 years. So these people had done a fair good job in educating the people, which we did not have to do a lot, but we still have to do it.
It helps you, right?
Yeah.
So eventually, as you said, that your vision is to be an accelerator going down the line, probably. So as we know that already in Dhaka, in Bangladesh, a few of the telcos have launched their accelerator program.
Right.
So what do you say about that?
I've seen GP Accelerator. I think they're on their 2nd batch. I think it's great that some people took the initiative. One of the reasons people do go to Accelerator because they want to learn. Let's put it this way:
they want to learn.
They want to learn. Mentorship is a big deal. It is fairly a big deal than funding. When you're in your initial stage, when you're even in your seed stage and all, mentorship makes a big difference. Funding is mostly for your sustainability, then sometimes for your marketing efforts. But other than that, funding doesn't really make much of a difference. It's mentorship. So as long as this, I'm sorry.
No, but do you think? I'm sorry to cut you there. But do you think that given the current scenario of Bangladesh, the economic condition of Bangladesh, right. Funding is not a big deal, mentorship is a big, I'm sure we all appreciate mentorship, we all need mentorship for sure. But Bangladesh's current context দেখতে গেলে funding versus mentorship কোনটা দুটোই তো equally in fact it's needed.
Again, it depends on the position that particular startup or company is. If it's very early stage, very early stage, where let's put in a very ideal scenario where I have a computer science graduate and I have a business graduate. These 2 people want to do something in the technology sector, probably make a web-based application or an Android application. They don't really need funding, do they? One of them would do the necessary market research to see that if this is viable or not. The other one would develop a prototype, an idea, and just see that if the proof of concept is really viable or not.
Okay, so আমার একটা question ছিল. So say for example, you know the telcos they're pretty big, right? They are having their accelerator programs.
Right.
Grameenphone has it. Probably the other telcos will launch very soon.
Right.
And your aim is to be an accelerator someday as well. And the main intention probably you have Hive today, invested into Hive today, is the exit probably would be as an accelerator. So do you think
there's no exit? It's continuation.
Continuation. Sorry about that. So do you think when you continue there after 2-3 years, and given that the telcos with a heavy budget also investing into accelerator programs, so do you think it's not a challenge for you, or do you think this is going to be some sort of problem for you or challenge for you?
As often, I really don't look at it as a challenge or a problem. It's again, as I said, it's a big market. There is room for a lot of players. We don't know when we're going to be an accelerator. There's no hard promises that we're going to be one, but we're putting one step at a time, and that's one of our goals that we do want to achieve. We do want to achieve from Hive. But even if it takes a couple of years or more for us to know that we are ready. We are ready in terms of a lot of things. We have to be ready because when I'll be running an accelerator or even an incubator, I have to make sure that I have a good amount of time and energy to put into it. Right? I have to make sure that I do get to accumulate a good sources of fund, and just not money as a whole, but people who are funding me would also be on the advisory board to know that or help me out to scale and grow. So it's an amalgamation of a lot of factors, but we do hope to go there. And when we reach there, if there are a lot of players, including bigger cash book telcos, I don't look at it as a problem. I don't look at it as a problem because, first of all, when it's great that they've launched an accelerator and they're doing good. It's a great learning experience for us. A particular product or a particular scenario, I can have my own baggage of experience, but that might not be relevant in this country. So when GP launches an accelerator, I get to talk to their people, I get to understand the pros and cons, I get to give my input as well and learn a lot from them. So this 2 years would be an amazing learning experience for me. I don't really want to compete with them. I'm sure there are, it's a big market. So there would be a lot of people. They would take some of the best chunk of the cream. I would take some of them, and maybe there would be more who would take some of them.
The reason actually I asked the question because আমাদের কাছে অনেক সময় ধারণা থাকতে পারে যে কোথায় telco, কোথায় আমরা, কোথায় আমি একটা আশিক, কোথায় Telenor. But still, which means technology or this particular industry is an arena where anyone can challenge anyone.
Absolutely. I mean, and one of the things is anybody can challenge everyone. I mean, everybody starts from scratch. Let's just put it this way. Everybody was in early stage and they've gone there. History do tell us that there has been a lot of things, right? We've seen Yahoo to be valued at 125 billion at its peak. It has gone down to 4 billion once a while. Even on the co-working space scale, we've known of Regus to be a really global big co-working space. Many of you don't, or many of us don't know that after the dot-com bubble, they've actually filed for bankruptcy in 2003, but they're again up and running and going big. So it's amazing, it's interesting, it's a fun ride, but that doesn't really mean that when somebody's really big, you cannot enter that market. I'm sure if there is a certain equation in the market which needs to be solved and where your value creation would be more than the bigger player, you can absolutely get it that
So which means the technology, this entire technological industry is actually a level playing field for all of us, right?
Absolutely.
So anyone from this chair can become the next millionaire from Bangladesh.
Yes, I hope that happens, and I want to be part of that player. I want to.
And that's your intention, I believe.
Absolutely.
So there you want to invest.
Right. I want to make sure that player becomes the billionaire or a unicorn. Let it be.
We know that. That's your intention. You just mentioned,
right.
You want to be with that. So Ashiq, before we finish, actually, last but not the least, so would you recommend anybody else in Bangladesh to open up more co-working spaces here actually?
That simply depends on the intention. If it's real estate investment, or if it's very profit-making investment where you would be just looking at your payback period and your ROIs, no, not now. But if you really want to be part of the technology sector and you have intentions, not just technology sector, other sectors too. I mean, Hive accommodates great people. I have awesome people who's working in the non-profit sector. I have startup people. I have other digital marketeers people. There's a bunch of other people. But then again, coming back to the question, as if there is a lot of value creation that happens, starting from very simple talent acquisitions. You wouldn't be getting a platform where you would have a diversified, good, enthusiastic people working. Maybe you can do talent acquisitions there. Maybe you can work and invest in potential startups which you wouldn't really getting anywhere else. Or if you're you're part of a VC fund, you wouldn't be looking at it that closely. So there's a bunch of things that can be done. Or maybe you have your own things that you want to do. Maybe also host it there. But just solely thinking of it as a profit making model, I would say that no, there has to be more to it.
The reason actually I asked you this very last but important question, because recently we have came across few pointers like Bangladesh's current given the job market and আমাদের বাংলাদেশে যে পরিমাণ আমরা গ্র্যাজুয়েট বের হচ্ছে ভার্সেস আনএমপ্লয়মেন্ট, সো সেখানে কি স্টার্টআপ একটা ইম্পর্টেন্ট রোল প্লে করতে পারে কিনা, which means the more and more co-working spaces we create, is actually going to give a more and more opportunity for the people, the young guys who actually probably trying to look into jobs. Maybe this becomes an alternative ways for them to sustain or be into an earning source.
Absolutely, there is a room for a lot of other co-working spaces. I mean, I personally would want to help every other people who want to open a co-working space. I mean, I don't mind putting in my amount of labor hours even to make sure that their co-working space gets done. I would necessarily do all the marketing and word of mouth what necessary, because this would help in growing this entire new wave of such energetic people with the startup theme. And then again, with my definition of startup theme, where they're actually trying to solve a good, significant potential problem. This would absolutely help them, and we would need it all over the city and maybe all over the country too as we proceed.
So আমি এই জন্য প্রশ্নটা করলাম, because knowing that বাংলাদেশে যে এখন যে আনএমপ্লয়মেন্টের যে ইস্যুটা আছে, সেখানে কি স্টার্টআপস গুলো বা we want to believe that startups are playing a good important role in unemployment. So সেখানে to help it more, যদি co-working spaces গুলো আরো ক্রিয়েট হয়, তাহলে হয়তো বা আরো বেশি যারা এখনো চাকরিতে যাচ্ছেন, আমরা যেটা দেখেছি ডেটা অনুযায়ী, একটা হচ্ছে আনএমপ্লয়মেন্ট আর একটা হচ্ছে আন্ডার এমপ্লয়মেন্ট, because
self-employed.
Exactly, but underemployment is something actually where you are into a job but you're not satisfied, say for example.
Okay.
You're not optimally looking into your current work. So সেখানে দেখা যায় startup গুলো playing an important role, because I'm working for a company that I don't want to work, but I'm getting 25k salary per month. Doesn't matter, but it's not satisfying me. So probably startups are actually these days, আমরা যেটা দেখতে পাচ্ছি, is actually encouraging these young people like, fine, I'll open my own startup and be this. But এই প্রসেসটাতে যখন একটা রিস্ক সে নিচ্ছে, আন্ডার এমপ্লয়মেন্টের পার্সপেক্টিভ থেকে কারেন্ট এক্সিস্টিং অপরচুনিটি ছেড়ে একটা নতুন অপরচুনিটিতে আসছে, using these spaces like yours which you're motivating, like, come on, no problem, no office fee, nothing, start your business. It's a great initiative. But do you think in a long run, if, as you mentioned, that even the startups that you help, one failed, one survived, right? So there is a failure. So a failure ratio যদি কোনো কারণে বেড়ে যায়, would it be a very devastating situation for the entire young population going down the line?
I do agree on that point. Even on a very startup success to failure ratio, if you would be talking to any of the venture capitalists or other analysts that there are, খুবই বেশিরভাগ সময় দেখা যায় যে on a very 100%ish, আপনি দেখবেন যে 70-80% startups do not really make it, because 20% will make it, because as I said, startup-এর জন্য they would be trying to solve a problem যেটার জন্য কোনো given proven solution নেই, তার মানে হচ্ছে the level of success is very uncertain. So প্রথমত যে আমি যদি একটা significant problem identify না করে, if I just want to be like a startup for the sake of being startup and just do something which is not required, it is given that ওরা আরো fail করবে. So primarily আমাদের যে প্রথম, because আমরা তখন root level এ চলে যেতে হবে, rather than co-working spaces, VC funding, employment, সব থেকে বড় কথা হচ্ছে আমি যে স্টার্টআপটা করছি, আমাকে আগে ওটা বলতে হবে যে is it actually solving a problem that needs to be solved.
Right. So given the fact of Hive, that the venture that you founded, we want to believe that it is solving a problem, right? So আমাকে যদি আরেকবার repeat করা যায়, what problem you're solving for Bangladesh, for Dhaka city, say for example?
We are giving a platform to startups, entrepreneurs, freelancers, so that they can work in a more motivated and efficient environment.
Right.
Because working from home or working or meeting from coffee places is never productive and is highly inefficient. To put it in very simple terms.
Okay. So as we were also discussing about the failure rate, so we all know that failure is the pillar of success. So অনেক সুন্দর সুন্দর কথা তো আছে. So আজকে fail করলে you'll win tomorrow. Don't listen to them. Go for it. So if you start failing at the age of 23 and keep on failing until 27 or 30, 30 plus, say for example, being a startup within the startup scenario, and at the same time when you realize that no, startup is not my cup of tea, I better be going back to the job. So do you think it might be a situation where you're losing both the ends? You're losing the job market because you don't have any job experience at the moment. At the same time, you have also given up on the startups. What happens then? With the 78% that you mentioned.
Right. A startup is a business. When you're doing a business, you're taking a risk. Maybe it's not a monetary risk. Maybe you're not investing your money, but you're investing your time.
Right.
You're investing your energy. You're investing your efforts, which definitely has an opportunity cost.
Right.
So I would really ask everybody to do their due diligence in order to understand and have a cap that, you know what, I would see for the next 18 months and ensure that I can grow to this extent. If I cannot, that means there is less chances of this going north or this doing well. So I should rather look into other opportunities. This can be another startup, this can be another job, but there has to be a point and there has to be a line where people have to put in a ceiling that, you know what, this is what it is, and you have to realize it. I can't just go on like, I want to do a startup, I want to continue. That's like giving a blind eye. It's not just for startup. Anything that you give a blind eye, you're never going to succeed, right? So this is a very important thing that people should know, that they have to have proper plans. And so that they know that they've attained it. If they haven't really attained it, they should know that perhaps this is not something which would go as desired.
Awesome. Ashiq, thank you very much for all your wonderful advices for the startups, for the new young entrepreneurs. And we would actually like to end up here. Thank you once again for joining us tonight, this evening, for the Startup Grind. And thank you very much for allowing this wonderful venue at Hive. So ladies and gentlemen, before I end up, actually, I would let this floor now open for you. If you guys have any question to Ashiq, please feel free to ask. যদি আপনাদের কোনো প্রশ্ন থেকে থাকে, আশিককে প্রশ্ন করতে পারেন।
আমি তো এত ভালো বুঝাইতে পারি না যে প্রশ্ন থাকবে না, আসলে প্রশ্ন থাকা উচিত আরো অনেক বেশি।
আমরা এখানে কেউ কি আছি? হ্যাঁ, স্যার। Yeah, if you can just ask the question.
Yes, my ear loud. Yeah.
So it's maybe this would just be like an opinion, I would say, regarding the ecosystem of startups right now. So since we're talking about failures, we see that, you know, I don't really know the numbers about how many startups are failing. I heard a few years ago, but primarily failed last year, something like that, whatever. So I want to know a little bit about the role of the government here and what more can be done to make sure that these startups are able to grow efficiently from here.
Right, awesome. Thank you, Sumaya. Just to put it, Sumaya is the biggest advocate for Hive. She is more excited about Hive than I am myself. So can we have a great round of applause for him, for her? Yeah. All right. So when we talk about on the government end, I have to look into the macroeconomic factors that do definitely play a good chunk of role for any businesses to succeed. Now that given we're talking about startups, we've seen government in the last many years being highly invested and in a very participating mode with the technology sector, with the ICT division coming into play, working effectively, with having their own incubator / co-working space in Karan Bazaar. So I think the government is trying to promote. This is very new. So I'm sure that we would be needing greater policies. Maybe we would be needing further more concrete but efficient policies when it comes to startups in the technology sector, in the payment scale. I'm sure you would know that this is one of the major problems because we don't have effective mode of doing online payments, which becomes a big hindrance. We have to go on a cash on delivery mode, right. which there are definitely discrepancies and
you
other
purchase ticket online.
Right, so there's a lot of things which the government can do, which I think the Bangladesh Bank can do. A very important thing for startups here is to find out an exit strategy. See, when people on a good note, majority of the startups who cannot sustain by their own revenue, they would be needing additional external funding. That can be from individual investors or venture capitalists. When people want to put in their money, they want to know their exit strategy. What happens is you either exit by going into an IPO or somebody consumes you, there's an acquisition. So the government has to make sure that people are able to well facilitate those, because I'm not going to put in the money and just sit around because I don't know what exit strategy is there, because I really don't care about profit. Investors do not care about dividends or profits. They care about how many times return their investment made. So that's one of the key reasons I think the government can really help a lot in order to make sure that there are particular exit strategies available. That can be from getting IPO in the local market, or
is it right now the IPO, do we have that?
I don't know of any tech firm like a totally focused startup going IPO. I know Amra Networks and SSD Tech, these people can do.
Would you call it a startup?
I wouldn't call it a startup. Or maybe as a startup you can never go to IPO. You would have to attain that much of market and growth. So, but when we're looking into a very B2C startups, probably I've just mentioned Chaldan and a few others, can we really make them go IPO? Because maybe when we're looking into IPO, we're very much fixated on looking into profits rather than revenue growth or user base growth. So a bunch of other things. Maybe on the registration process also, if we can make things easier. I know that there is tax holidays, and even there are very minimal fees for people who want to operate in the technology sector by the government. But you know, many such more policies and much stronger decisions would absolutely help this industry to grow.
Right. So any more questions? So thank you very much for shedding some lights on the government policies. So it's very important. So anybody has any more question for Ashiq?
Wow, no more questions?
So যদি আর কারো কোনো প্রশ্ন না থেকে থাকে, Ashiq, thank you very much once again for joining us this evening on Startup Grind.
Right.
And all the best with your Hive.
Well, thank you so much, Saurabh bhai. Primarily, Startup Grind is doing a wonderful job. Given that Startup Grind Bangladesh is promoting entrepreneurs and playing such an important and vital role to this emerging market of ours. And thanks to you that you're helping facilitate Startup Grind Bangladesh and a bunch of other things, and the entire team, which has been great. I just would like to thank everyone for being here and listening to me. I would be very much, I'm very much open to help everyone that requires help of any of my expertise that I have, and I'm looking forward to working with all of you in any forms that there is available. And thank you, Hive, for hosting this event.
All right, thank you, Ashiq, thank you very much.